Hello, everyone, and we have a very special episode today. It's April of 2022, which means it's time to predict the 2023 Oscars. There's no such thing as early predictions. Um, this is one of my favorite times of the year to do predictions because you know absolutely nothing except for the people involved, and you can look back and see how right and wrong you are. And I'm joined by Anthony to do such crazy early predictions.
Yes, truly crazy. But, with so many names, I think probably the
So many
most
directors this year.
high profile directors releasing films, I think this is probably an easier task, or we're going to get closer to predicting than we maybe would have in years past. That being said, I still think I'm betting like 30% of what we say today is actually going to happen, if that. So
If
we'll
that.
see.
Yeah. There's always going to be some goldfinches.
Oh, God,
Speaking of
yes.
which, yeah, that didn't turn out well. So starting off with picture, we know for sure there will be 10 movies this year. They're continuing to do that, thankfully. So what do you have for your 10 movies for picture, Anthony?
So I think what's difficult is that we've seen the past couple of years, there's a front runner, and then very often the front runner status kind of, we get tired of it and we say, what else is new? And that's what happened with Coda. That's what happened with Parasite. And so I was trying to look for what movie that could be, but I think that we're too early for that conversation. So
That's
I'm just
hard
going
to
to
do,
go
yeah.
with the ones that I think in the end, yeah, what are the ones that I could logically see get announced a year, like almost a year from now. So for me, that's The Fablemans, Killers of the Flowers Moon, Bardo, the Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu film, Babylon, The Sun, Empire of Light, which is the Sam Mendes film, Rustin, which is the Colman Domingo film from George C. Wolfe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm given how popular it is, and I think because it's going to do the thing that Dune did, which is it's going to get in a lot of text, I'm going to put in Everything Everywhere All at Once. 13 Lives, which is the Ron Howard film, and Next Goal Wins from Taika Waititi. Those are my 10.
Mm-hmm. We have
With
a lot
honorable
in common
mentions
there.
to She Said. I think She Said
Yes.
could get in there, the Carey Mulligan film, because of its subject matter, and I think it's different from a lot of these other contenders. I just think there were a lot of contenders that were on the bubble that I just felt were a little too small. That I think at this point these films just seem to have more importance and more gravitas and more likely Best Picture contenders.
Yes. We have a lot in common there. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I have not been able to see it yet because it's not playing near me. But I thought you were about to say the Batman there, but I do think Everything Everywhere has a chance. It's not on my list though. Next Goal Wins is such a mystery because we've been predicting it for like the past like 2 or 3 seasons. But I do think it'll come out this year. But yes.
Yes.
So I'll say my top 10 and then we can talk about some other stuff. So number one, the movie I think could probably win this far out is The Fablemans, Steven Spielberg's autobiographical upcoming film. It's got everything that is needed to win. It's definitely not going to be what would you call it? Divisive. It seems like a movie that would be very universally liked. It seems like it would be heartwarming. I mean, it's a coming of age movie which just recently won. It's a movie I think that will have a lot of emphasis on the importance of movies because it's Steven Spielberg growing up. I think it's going to have a lot of cinematic styles. It's going to have great performances from the cast members we'll get into. And it's really the first time Steven Spielberg is going into like his actual life rather than just elements of it into his films. So yeah, I think that has a really good shot to win because it'll be very crowd pleasing. Number two, I have Babylon, Damien Chazelle's next film. Similarly set in Hollywood, I believe, like from the 1920s to the 50s. Apparently, it's been test screened recently, and it's gotten very, very good reception. Say what you will about test screenings, I don't put a ton of faith in them. Apparently, it's almost 3 hours long, but people say that this is he's outdone himself with this one. So I do think this will get in there. Number three, Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, crime movie. He got $200 million to make it. Seems like a pretty big lock. I think those three will be in everyone's top 10, no matter what. Number 4, The Son. I absolutely loved The Father. I thought that was easily the best movie of 2020. And Florian Zeller, he won an Oscar for it for his first movie. So I think we saw with that movie just how much craft and skill he has as a storyteller. And this is based off another one of his plays, I believe, which the play at least has been called like a masterpiece and like really well done. It's got Hugh Jackman. It's got some amazing performers. So yeah, I think that's definitely getting in there. 5, I don't know about this. I'm taking a little bit of a risk with this one. Avatar 2, I think, is probably going to get in there.
Almost. I think what's going to hurt Avatar 2 is I think the mindset of Avatar and like the kind of, I feel like now we've been more than a decade. What is it, like 12 years? 13 years?
Yeah.
It'll be 13 years when Avatar 2 comes out. And I feel like unless he really blows everything and everyone away, I feel like people are going to go into this movie with their preconceived feelings on what the first Avatar is. And for a lot of people, they just don't enjoy it that much. And I think there's also a lot of people who now haven't seen it in theaters. So they didn't get the intended experience. So that was why I kept it off the list, was because I feel like, you know, listen, Cameron does know how to make a sequel. So this could
never doubt Cameron.
Avatar. It's definitely like, if we had to like come to a consensus, if that was one of these videos, I would agree to the consensus because it's like it's on the bubble for me.
Yeah, we'll do individual videos as the season continues for each category, I'm sure. But this is just a quick overview heading into the season. We're into Emmy season currently, though. But yeah, Avatar 2, my main reason was I think it's going to get in and win a lot of the tech categories. And I think with the amount of nominations it's going to get, I think that means it has a good shot in picture. Like there aren't a lot of movies that get a lot of tech noms and sweep the techs that don't end up in picture, but we shall see. Not many sequels get into Best Picture, so I would actually probably move that down lower, but I still think it'll just squeeze in there. I think Disney will want that to happen too, very much so.
But like, I'm trying to think, like, are there examples of like huge Oscar contenders? Like Avatar 1 was a huge Oscar contender. Are there examples of sequels to huge Oscar contenders that then just like do not have a showing the second time? Because you also Black Panther 2, so maybe those two can't
that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but if they're both Disney, the studio may not know which one to push.
And I don't think they're going to push Black Panther 2.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Culturally, it's a big deal. I'm just saying.
It is.
Culturally, Black Panther 2 is. Let's put it this way: Avatar 2 is going to get Best Picture if it's technically impressive. Black Panther 2 will get on there if it's culturally impressive. So it's the exact opposite campaign that they would run for each.
That movie just seems like it's had a lot of issues and like it's been rushed. I'm sure it will still be good. I don't know. I'm very unsure about it. Whereas James Cameron really rarely disappoints, in my opinion. But yeah, I think that will be the tech movie blockbuster one that gets in there. Because there's usually, especially when there's 10 nominations, one that gets in. But another one on my list, Empire of Light, you mentioned, Sam Mendes' next movie. Olivia Colman, Colin Firth, takes place, I believe, I forget when, but it takes place by like a coastal movie theater, and it's a romance and all that stuff. So it's very movie focused. Sounds like something they would like. Next up, 13 Lives, which you mentioned. It's about where did this happen? The football team that got trapped. I forget where it happened.
Thailand, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right. In Thailand. Colin Farrell, amongst others, are in it. Viggo Mortensen also, I believe. The thing holding me back a little bit is Ron Howard. He has
very hit or miss.
Oscar contender lately. But apparently this was screened very recently. I'm talking about screenings a lot. And the reception was really good, and that's why they moved the movie, which was originally supposed to come out soon. They moved it all the way to November because they do think it has an awards chance. And it does seem like the kind of like story that they would really like. So I do think that'll get in there. Number 8, Rustin, which you mentioned. Usually there's almost pretty much the past few years when Netflix has been a big contender, there's been at least 2 nominations for them in picture. And right now they don't seem to have a ton of big contenders. I think they may pick up some at festivals, but I think this is their biggest one currently. Coleman Domingo, I think it's going to be a really good performance here. George C. Wolfe. I forget the writer, but I believe the writer, the person who's wrote it, has won 2 Oscars at this point. He wrote Milk and such movies like that. So I do think it'll be a very important and
Dustin Slance Black.
Yes.
Dustin Slance Black. He won Best Original Screenplay for Milk, and I think that's the only one.
That's the only one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only one.
Yeah. Well, he has won one Oscar, so we'll see. I do think that, and it's also being made by the Obama's production company, one of the few non-documentary movies that they've made so far. I believe maybe only the second after Worth. So I think that also will have some cachet, I would think.
I mean, one of their early documentaries, like one of their first ones, was American Factory, and that won. So it does show that, you know, I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, the Obamas made it, then I have my vote. I think it's more that I think they are doing a nice job of cultivating a nice portfolio and a nice resume, and their stamp of approval, I think, does say something, because I do think that they seem to have good judgment when it comes to these things. That's their Oscar win for American Factory, not theirs specifically. You know, they don't get the Oscar, but their company's Oscar for it proves.
Yeah, they definitely are making some good picks thus far. 9, speaking of Netflix, White Noise. This is Noah Baumbach's next movie, also at Netflix. Adam Driver, Greta Gerwig. I believe it's about Adam Driver's some guy who like is a professor and like expert in like studies about Hitler. It's about his life and stuff like that. Apparently the book it's based off is a little weird, so that's what's holding me back a little bit, but it's Noah Baumbach, and it's one of the few contenders Netflix has, so that's why I have it higher, but I'm not completely confident in it.
I have a feeling that this is like, I'm thinking of ending things. Like, I feel like Marriage Story, if it had won something for Noah Baumbach, like, because I know it won for Laura Dern, but if he had won like screenplay or even had gotten a director nomination, then I would feel better about putting it on my list. I mean, I would love to. Marriage Story is one of my favorite movies of all time. It just, I feel like Marriage Story doing so well is the anomaly to his career. I don't know if he now becomes like every year he gets in. I would love if he did, and maybe because Netflix is behind it, and if it plays really well, and you have Adam Driver, but even so, like last year we saw Adam Driver is not a guarantee to a Best Picture contender. He had 3 movies and none of them really materialized.
He is with Noah Baumbach so far, though.
So yeah, I mean the record is
only once.
But I also feel like Marriage Story benefited because of the relatability and the fact that because you had it from different perspectives, ScarJo's and Adam Driver, like it probably cast a wider net. Like what's going to be the overall appeal for this movie?
Yeah, it really depends on the tone it strikes.
Yeah.
If it is a more relatable, down-to-earth tone, I think it has a good shot. If it goes weird, who knows? I mean, there are some weird movies that will have a shot this year, like Everything Everywhere All at Once. But I don't think they'll have room for a ton of them. Then the last one in my top 10, I have Women Talking. This is Sarah Polley's film. I think Polly actually. Frances McDormand, Jessie Buckley, Rooney Mara, Ben Whishaw. It's about a group of women in like a religious colony in like Bolivia, I believe, and how they meet secretly to talk about these sexual assaults that are occurring within the community. Sounds like I think that also depends on the content. If it's like really dark and sad, it may not get in there, but it seems like a really, if it's well done, a really big potential Oscar contender. I believe, I forget what movie she directed. She directed a movie earlier in the 2000s that was a big Oscar contender. And I think we'll get to in director, but I think we have to have a few female directed films that are going to be in contention here. Speaking of which,
Away from Her was her big.
Yeah. Oscar contender. Yes,
Yeah.
I believe she's won an Emmy also. She's directed some stuff on TV. She's also an actress, so she'll get some good performances out of these performers, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Then
I'm
our
waiting to see if this is a Little Women or a Lost Daughter, because I think,
yeah,
both quality films, but one was able to connect and the other one did not make it to Best Picture, though, got some acting and a screenplay. I see that as more the trajectory for this one. I think it'll be a film that gets some acting and a screenplay, but I don't know about Best Picture. We'll have to,
yeah,
partly part of the fun of this is, we've not
yeah.
seen any of the movies, so we'll have to see them and see how they connect. Though
We'll
that
have to see
cast,
it at Cannes. I believe
the
at Cannes.
cast is strong, but besides from Frances McDormand, it's a lot of Oscar bridesmaids. I feel
It
Rooney
is.
Mara,
Yeah,
Claire Foy, Jessie Buckley. Like you don't have a Jennifer Lawrence or like an Emma Stone. You don't have like one of those ingenues. You have a lot of like people that the Academy has shown they're able to pass over. So I feel like that may affect the film overall in terms of getting eyes to it. Frances McDormand definitely helps. I feel, but we'll see how
she
big her
definitely
role
does.
is.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe she is she has a smaller supporting role in this one, I believe, based off
Like
of the
Meryl
back.
Streep in Suffragette type of
Yes,
role.
like that. Yeah. And then quick honorable mentions, as you mentioned, She Said, which is Maria Schrader, who directed Unorthodox on the TV side. I believe she won an Emmy for it. It's about the whole breaking of the Harvey Weinstein case, the two reporters who broke that with Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan. I think this really depends on if it's a bombshell or if it's a spotlight.
It seems like a
It's
bombshell.
It seems like a bombshell just a
It
little
seems like
bit.
we're too close to already have this story being made. I
Yeah,
mean, maybe not. We'll see. But this reeks of like Patriots Day, like a movie that wants to be an Oscar contender, but just I think people aren't like we haven't had the time. Like think about like Schindler's List came out or like
yeah,
like Titanic. Like Titanic was like 80 years after or 85 years. Like that was like the right time to make a story like that. So I think it's all about timing. And also She Said and Women Talking could cancel each other out, unfortunately, because that's how
they
it's like
could.
we only have one woman picture. It's like,
Yeah,
that's how it works
which is
sometimes.
sad. Um, yeah, but I do think one of those will get in there. I think She Said is very close. I think it just depends. I think Sarah Polley is maybe a little bit more of a experienced director from what I saw looking at their
Mhm.
filmographies. So that's why I put that maybe a little bit higher. But I do think She Said has a really good shot. The Woman King, I don't. I think it could get in some texts and maybe Viola Davis. It's being released by TriStar Pictures, which doesn't get a ton of like big nominations for stuff like picture. I don't think they have in a long time. But I do think directed by Gina Prince Bythewood, I think it's interesting to have a movie set in these older African times in Africa where it's empowering rather than just about like slavery or something. We saw
Mhm.
that happened with Black Panther as well, although that was modern. So I think it has a shot, but probably not. Elvis seems like a typical biopic. I think
That
I don't
seems
know
like a
how much I
Rocket
like.
Man.
I think so, but I do think it could also easily Bohemian Rhapsody itself. There, I think it could be a big hit, and even if it doesn't get great reviews, the Academy members may like it. Um, Everything Everywhere All at Once you mentioned, I haven't seen it, but it seems I don't trust A24 enough with these campaigns at all.
I see that following a drive my car trajectory. I think the word of mouth is so popular, and if it can withstand it, now it definitely feels like I'm hedging my bets because I'm like this could be a Hereditary, where like people
Yeah,
want it to happen, or an Uncut Gems Adam Sandler. But I mean, the movie's number one rated on Letterboxd. Like that,
it
this
is.
isn't
Yeah,
normal. I think you're seeing again. I think you'll see a thing where editing. I would bet my life probably that gets a nomination for editing. I think production design is very likely. I think some of the acting. So I think it has a good shot in a lot of categories that I could see it working its way up there. And I just think that as we've seen already, there's more positivity as far as all of the craft movies like Avatar 2 and a lot of these other ones that we're going to see in this the second tier list. It just
yeah,
seems like one that I could see working its way up. And people are like, well, I might as well. I've been nominating it in all these other categories. So
yeah. It has possibility. I would honestly say it's best shot currently, just based off how I feel and how far away we are. I don't think A24 can keep that buzz for that long. They didn't really campaign at all last season. Um, so I think its best shot is being the sole original screenplay nomination, which I think has a shot, but I don't know. And then some other ones just to quickly shout out Canterbury Glass. The whole David O. Russell thing, I don't think that's good. I think he is way too problematic, and with all the smear campaigning that happens during award season, I just don't understand how that movie can be supported that much. I mean, people bring up like Ansel Elgort and West Side Story, but that's different. It's not like, I feel like if Steven Spielberg had those accusations, then that movie would not have been
Well,
successful.
you know, the comp would be Mel Gibson with Hacksaw Ridge. He was able to make
That's
a
fair.
comeback,
Yeah.
and we kind of forgot. But
There was,
the movie
yeah.
was good. Hacksaw Ridge was a moving movie that was well crafted, and you know, that
That
would
was
be what the
before
movie needed.
the
The
whole
issue,
Me Too era, however.
granted, but I think, you know, anti-Semitic language has never been. We've never been in a
No, yeah.
okay to make
I
anti-Semitic
just feel like
language.
Hollywood
So again,
is
I think
changing a little bit.
I grant you, and that could affect this film getting, you know, contention. But in the end, I just think that it comes down to the movie. You know, very rarely do I think somebody on an outside, again, except if Harvey Weinstein ever made a new movie. I feel like it comes down to the movie, and his last movie, I believe, was Joy, and that got mixed reviews, only getting, I think, a single nomination for Jennifer Lawrence. So he proves that he's not always a hit. You know, he does miss. And
This seems like, based off of the cast and subject matter, that it could be a hit. It seems like one of Fox's also biggest contenders. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a big smudge on that whole movie. I don't know if it's going to be able to get through with that smudge. Quickly, Bardo, which you mentioned. Speaking of controversy, there's a lot of controversy surrounding that one. I don't think it's going to happen. And it's also
there is. I completely
there
don't
is
know.
Iñárritu apparently. This is like this seems pretty reliable based on the people who I've seen talking about it. But apparently he did not adhere to COVID protocols, which ended up I believe two cast members ended up getting COVID and dying, which is not a good look.
Okay.
And it's also a foreign film without
Yeah.
any big actors, and it's described as a comedy. Also, I don't know. I don't think it has a great shot.
We'll see.
He's also been reported to be a bit of a problematic
I
director
think-
on set.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think we can dismiss that the last time that he was up for Oscars,
No, he's like always
his last
nominated.
two
Yeah.
movies, one, like he was the first director, I think, since like Mankiewicz in like the 50s to do Best Director back-to-back years, and he won Best Picture one of those years. So like I think I at least put it on there because I also think, like, I'm looking at this list. I don't know if I feel like we'll get to Best Director because I do think that's going to go all male again this year.
Yeah. Do you want to go to Best
But
Director?
when it comes to Best Picture, because I've been looking like a Best Director, I feel like we're not going to get all five like white men, but
I hope
so we may this year though. But for Best Picture, I feel like I always look for like, okay, what's going to be the international feature that gets in? Because I feel like at this point we're going to see at least one, and that was The Ones. But I hadn't heard about these allegations. Maybe they get, you know, the campaign is able to, you know, squelch them down.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Definitely possible.
Definitely interesting. Very interesting.
It is, yeah. Final picture ones that I'm just going to say, don't really need to say anything behind it. Like you mentioned, Mexico Wins, Tar, The Greatest Beer Run Ever, who knows, Asteroid City, Don't Worry Darling, and Decision to Leave are the last ones I would shout out there. And also Till. Till sounds like it has a good chance. Yes, so that's picture. Best Director. I can start here. So my number one currently is Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans. I think he's got a pretty good shot at winning here. But I don't know. I feel like we could also just see some smaller movie like we've seen in the past few years jump up and just like take the director buzz. But right now it seems.
See, I have a different kind of thing. I think at this point they'll give Spielberg picture, but they'll give Scorsese Best Director, and I think that's how they're
I
gonna.
don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think both will end up being big winners come that night.
I think if this is like their like wouldn't that be so nice if they both go out?
It would.
If this is their last thing together, like that would be so cute. Like both of these like 70-year-old gentlemen going out together as friends. But like I definitely think that Scorsese is the better chance in director because it just seems like
I don't know.
like think about it. This is Spielberg's Belfast.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we've seen recent Spielberg. We know how he directs. So like, compare that to Scorsese, where I think a lot of his best problems have been in his later half. Like I think Scorsese has been like Tarantino, that he hasn't like lost what we loved
Well,
about him when he
Spielberg hasn't really
started. Where
either.
I think Spielberg has definitely been trying to recapture that match.
He's all of the
What
dramas he's made within the
I
past
think,
like century have like been nominated in picture. None of his dramas have
granted,
lost
but
picture.
like Bridge of Spies was at the bottom of that list. The Post was at the bottom of that
It's
list.
still
The
made it.
Irishman was like one of the most nominated films of that year.
Yeah,
I definitely think that Scorsese is a better track record in this category, especially because we were doubting whether Spielberg would get in for director. Like, I definitely think that it like maybe was between him and Denis Villeneuve for that fifth spot.
I
Like,
think
I
he
don't think he was a guarantee there.
I think he'll also have good buzz because I do think the work he did in West Side Story. I think he was probably two in director this past year after Champion. So I do think he has that. It is a very personal movie, which they like very much. But yeah, he's my number one. I think he'll win. Two, I think the second best shot at winning, Damien Chazelle for Babylon. It seems like it's apparently almost 3 hours long. It seems like it's going to have like a lot of big directorial showcase moments. He did just recently win, and he's very young, so I don't know if he has a big shot, but I think he'll definitely be nominated. Three, Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon. Most of his movies recently have gone into picture, but I mean, there's also like moments like Silence where he just completely misses out. But I think this will not be.
I think
Silence.
that was a failing of the campaign and
Yeah, and this is Apple, so I think Apple will definitely
look how
push it.
strong. Yeah.
They'll definitely push it, but
Especially because I think Apple would love, if Apple was able to get anything for this one, it would kind of be like another like dirt in the eye
yeah,
of Netflix of like, look, Martin Scorsese came to our streaming service and he actually won an Oscar, unlike
yeah.
you. So
And
Apple has proven to be very good at this campaign.
Netflix's slate is not looking great this year so far. Yeah, so I think he's got a shot. I don't see a world where he wins though, to be honest. In my opinion, at least. Number four, I have Sarah Polley for Women Talking. I do think we will have another female director get in there, and I do think her movie has the better shot of getting in, so I think she will be nominated. And then number five, there's always the past few years, there's always 5 years or so, been an international director that gets nominated. It's almost impossible to predict this far out. I think after Cannes, we'll have a much better idea. Well, that's where most of those movies release. That's where Drive My Car had its first screenings. Based on what's playing at Cannes, I am going with, I'm sorry, I'm probably going to butcher his name, Hirokazu Korida, who's a very well acclaimed director for all the past movies he has done. He has not won an Oscar yet. He's won a BAFTA, not an Oscar. And he's directing this movie. It's called Broker. It's got Song Kang-ho in it. The subject matter sounds like a subject matter that could very much appeal to the Academy, so he's my number five. And then quick honorable mentions, James Cameron, you never know, for Avatar 2. Park Chan-wook would be the other foreign director I think has a chance, and then Florian Zeller for The Sun.
Yeah, I actually, after your conversation about Bardo and learning about the film a little bit more, in terms of its background, which of course is never
got some
baggage
stuff.
I'm going to take that out, and I am going to put Women Talking. I think because if it is, I think Sarah Polley, she hasn't obviously been in this landscape, especially I think within the preferential balloting years. So I think there will be. It could be a little indie that goes a long way. So I'll take Bardo out of my best picture, put Women Talking in. As I said, I think Scorsese is the lead. I think it's funny enough, I think it will be the same trajectory as what happened with his first directing Oscar, which is The Aviator came out and everybody had this idea that, oh, okay, is this the one? We're finally going to give it to him. And then they did it. And then The Departed come out and everybody was like, oh, thank God. Now we can give it to him and we feel much better about the movie we're doing it for. I think the same thing's going to happen where The Irishman came out and everybody was like, oh my God, is this the last time where you have to give Marty an Oscar? And then he didn't do it. And now this comes along, we're like, all right, good. We were waiting for the good one. And I think he will take it because it seems like The Power of the Dog. It seems like this movie that will be immaculately crafted and will be thought-provoking, and it could be one of his best. And I think for that reason, I also think in terms of what he's going to be doing in terms of moving the camera and like all of the performances, like Spielberg's The Fabelman just seems a little bit more traditional. And they don't tend to go that way with director. Like, when's the last time that like a standard drama won this category. Like you usually have to be doing something interesting with the camera or like saying something really new and fresh, where I think what we're going to love about Spielberg is the nostalgia and the hominess to the story.
Yeah,
So
I feel
but
like
he's my number
West,
two though.
if you look at West Side Story versus say The Irishman, I feel like one is much clearly better directed wise. I think West Side Story is like craft wise better than I would say Irishman was.
I mean, true, but I think like the thing that I think distinguishes the two, I think it's gonna be really interesting because I think people are gonna have to finally answer the question of like who's better in a way, and I don't know. I feel like because we both think that Fablemans could win Best Picture because it's the more preferential like crowd pleaser, they're gonna want to give him something, especially because I think a lot of people will have that mindset of like, we either give both of them something or none of them something. Like, I don't think there's a world where one of them goes home with an Oscar and the other one doesn't. I think though, like, especially for the industry, I think it'll be too mean because they're such good friends.
Maybe,
yeah. But Spielberg is my 2. Damien Chazelle is my 3. I think the thing with this one is that if the content is so perverse, it could hurt him. But I think what helps is that it's been 6 years since La La Land, and First Man didn't make a big splash, so it could be like the perfect time for him to like, hey, remember me?
Christmas release date too.
Yeah, so I still think he gets in. I'm going to put in Florian Zeller for The Son.
I wish I could.
I think he has a lot of goodwill after The Father, Oscar winner, of course. And you know, I know we don't look at him this way, but he is an international director. You know.
Yeah.
So he could be that international contingent. And then I will put Sarah Polley because I do think that as far as the other contenders, I think, as you said, Alejandro may have some issues with Bardo. Sam Mendes, it seems to be a traditional movie. We have to see it, but he's my number 6. George C. Wolfe missed out on director and picture for Ma Rainey, so I'm hesitant to put him in there. The Daniels could get in if Everything Everywhere All at Once really does overperform, but like Denis didn't even get in for Dune, so I have a hard time putting them in there. And so and then everybody else, I mean, Ron Howard, I don't think so. I mean, like Peter Farrelly can get in for Green Book, and that won Best Picture. So I think out of those all, I think Sarah Polley has a nice, like, there's a nice respect for her as a creator, and especially if she comes back and if the movie really hits, I think she could benefit from it. So those are my 5: Scorsese, Spielberg, Chazelle, Zeller, and Polley. So yeah.
Similar list.
Yeah. So Best Actor?
Now, let's do actress first.
Actress.
One of the biggest categories every year. Do you want to start?
If this happens, I'm going to be so happy.
Oh, and I think I know where you're
I also think at this point, Damien Chazelle, if you want to win an Oscar for acting, go to Damien Chazelle, because I think this is going to be the 3rd acting win for a Damien Chazelle movie. I think Margot Robbie will win this award. Listen, I love Frances McDormand, but Margot Robbie in I, Tonya is like a career-defining performance. She is so good in that movie. She deserved it for that, and I'm very happy she's going to be getting it for this. At least because the other contenders I have are Olivia Colman for Empire of Light. She's already won. Laura Dern for The Son. She's already won. And then Michelle Yeoh, I'm putting in there because I think there's a lot of goodwill for her, and she is asked to do a lot in the movie. And I think there's so much love for her. And then Jessie Buckley for Women Talking. But I think those other two, it's funny. I think Jessie Buckley hasn't paid her dues as much as Margot Robbie has at this point. I think she's like a Saoirse Ronan. You know, Jessie Buckley will have to do a little bit more work to get to this place, unless the movie's just incredible and then she wins it. But I don't see that happening. And then Michelle Yeoh, I think because it's a genre role, I mean, whether she even gets in is a question. So then, I think Margot Robbie, she's beloved. I think a lot of people really respect her as an actor, but also as a producer. You know, I think they really see her as somebody who just all around really well done. I think has a really not like, I never see people like critiquing her or like don't like her personality. I think she's very nice. She obviously is really good on the campaign trail. So I think Margot Robbie for Babylon has this down. And I also think this will be one of the few places Babylon, like maybe this and maybe production design, because if they're, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood won this award also with Margot Robbie.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I'm going Margot Robbie, and I'm very happy about it.
She is my number two. She's the more realistic choice. If I had to like go completely logical, I would have her as my number one, just because based on the reports, she's also said to be the standout of the film. And as we've seen with all the acting categories, it does help. The nominees
She's
whose
the
movies
standout
are
in every film she's in. So I like that's my thing. Is like, let's see how much of a standout, because she was the standout in
yeah,
Bombshell too. Um,
yeah.
so
It just all depends on the competition. But my number one currently, I don't know how confident I am in this, but I'm going with Naomi Aki for I Want to Dance with Somebody. Um, as we've
wow.
seen recently, oh sorry, there are some biopics. I mean, they really like biopic performances, especially in this category. I mean, Jessica Chastain just won. And it's also, this movie is written by Anthony McCartan, who I believe has directed like three or four people, not directed, written movies that have won performers, I believe, Oscars three or four times. There hasn't been a black actress to win this category since Halle Berry. I know people bring that up every
And
year, but I think
that
it is a
means she's the
factor.
only one too. It's not like
No,
Halle there was somebody before Halle Berry. She's the only one since Halle Berry, and Halle Berry was the only one, which is
just
a
insane.
very distressing fact.
I think it's building up how distressing that fact is, and I think at some point there needs to be another one. It's insane. So I think that helps any black actresses in this category. And yeah, it just seems like the more biopic baity performance that they would go. She's going to be singing. She's going to be, I'm sure, crying. She's playing an iconic person. So yeah, she's my number one. But Margot Robbie will be my number two.
Jennifer
Um,
Hudson in respect. The only reason that I
that's
have.
possible. Possible. I think that there's a world, probably a likely world, where that ends up happening. But I'm
We'll see,
having
because
faith.
like Elvis is coming out, so we have to see like which biopics period are going to be the ones that connect. And
Yeah,
Naomi Aki, I loved her in The Rise of Skywalker. I think she's great. I mean, I would love her if she was Storm in
yeah. I believe
for
the
Marvel.
director of this, I forget her name. She directed Clemency, which also had an amazing performance from Alfred Woodard, which sadly wasn't
But
recognized. But this
didn't
seems
have any.
this seems more baity than that, though, in my
We
opinion.
shall see.
Number three, Carey Mulligan for She Said. It's hard with this one if her or Zoe Kazan are leads. It seems like they're co-leads, but I do think if I were to guess their campaign strategy, that she would be in lead, and Zoe Kazan would be in supporting, even though that's like fraud. But they did it with Green Book and such. But just recently lost. I think people do think she's very overdue for an Oscar, and I feel like she'll probably give a good performance. It seems like, I don't know, just seems like the kind of performance I would get in there currently.
I
Um,
had her in there, but I took her out because like the same thing could have been said about Michael Keaton in Spotlight. Like he was
sure.
overdue. He had just recently lost, and but then like and he was very
He got
good in
nominated
Spotlight.
though.
No, he did not get
Oh no,
nominated.
he
That's
didn't.
what
I'm
I'm saying.
thinking Birdman. You're right.
So like what's like Birdman is Mulligan's Promising Young Woman. Like that was the one
That's
that she was
true.
gonna win, and then she doesn't, and then she comes out with this movie, and I don't know if it's showing enough to get her in there, and
Yeah.
it feels like that this is like they've always skimped out on Carey Mulligan. So like this seems like another example. And if it's not in picture, I think it's going to be very hard for her to pull attention
Yeah.
to the movie herself.
That's true. You're tempting me to kick her out, but I'm gonna continue so far. My number four, Olivia Colman for Empire of Light. I mean, she's Olivia Colman. This is gonna be 3 years in a row. I mean, she's gonna give an amazing performance. She seems like almost like the new Meryl Streep. I think it's gonna be a movie in picture. She's gonna give a great performance. She's the lead of it. She's Olivia Colman. She'll get nominated. There you go. There's a series of events. And then number five,
Hang on. Is Meryl Streep the last time she was nominated was 2017 for The Post?
I believe so.
I think if she misses out this year, which I don't know if she has anything,
I
this
don't
may
think
be
so.
the longest that she's gone without a nomination. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah,
It'd be crazy.
yeah, she does have a lot of nominations. Olivia Colman is taking her spot. No, I
Yeah,
don't think so.
honestly.
But my number five is Kate Blanchett for Tar. This is the return of Todd Field as a director who directed two big Oscar contending movies and then took like a 15-year break. He's back. Um, it's Kate Blanchett. She's going to give an amazing performance. I believe she is playing the first like big conductor or composer in a European orchestra, which sounds like a kind of role that would be Beatty. Kate Blanchett. It's really all my reasoning. Seems like a good chance. And then my honorable mentions: Viola Davis for what was called The Woman King. I think she would be one of the few nominations that movie would get, but I mean, based on that photo alone, looks like she's going to give a powerhouse performance here, and I love Viola Davis, as everyone should, so she's got a shot. Regina King for Shirley. I'm not sure if this movie is going to come out in time. This is another Netflix contender, and I think based off of some of the tragic stuff Regina King has gone through lately, they may want to support her even more so, the whole acting community, which she would deserve, and she always gives iconic performances. Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. She's going to be in Avatar 2, which in December will keep her name in the buzz around the awards buzz centers. I don't know. I still think that movie's best shot is original screenplay, though. Recent winner Jessica Chastain for The Good Nurse. Seems like a role that could definitely get in there. And lastly, I'll say Danielle Deadwyler for Till. Seems like a Beatty kind of performance, which has potential there. Emma Stone for Poor Things. I don't know. That movie seems a little out there, but
We'll
yes.
see. That could show up though, because they love The Favorite. The Favorite was a costume drama. Mm-hmm. Meryl Streep went from 1990 with Postcards from the Edge to 1995, The Bridges of Madison County. So that was a 5-year gap. So that was her longest, I believe, without a nomination. So it'll be 5 years from The Post this year. So
yeah, I don't think she's going to get a nomination this year. So
no, so next year then is going to be like that'll be the
she has coming soon. Yeah,
maybe taking a break. Right.
Yeah.
Best actor.
Do you want me to start?
I'm gonna put Leonardo DiCaprio
at number one. I don't even think he's going to be in lead.
I'm putting him at 1. I think he's due for another one. We have to see the other ones, but I feel like as far as right now, Leonardo DiCaprio Don't Look Up is the rare outlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was the movie. He's with Scorsese. He's in good hands.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman for The Son, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Michael Fassbender for Next Goal Wins, and I put Diego Calva for Babylon. I think that he could really pop if the movie pops. And a similar thing to DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street. So those are my 5.
Yes. So my number 1, I think Hugh Jackman for The Son. I think he'll win. I mean, we saw the performance Florian Zeller helped get of Anthony Hopkins. Apparently, this is a very dramatic role. And he's only had 1 nomination, but I do still feel like there's a feeling of like he needs to have his Oscar soon. Like he's just like an all-around talent.
Do we really think he's a Gary Oldman?
Oh no, not.
Do we really
think Gary
he's
Oldman,
the type of like he's had 1 nomination, but he needs an Oscar? Like I don't know.
Not to that extent, but I do think people will still think, oh, he doesn't have an Oscar. He's like so talented. Why doesn't he? And then he'll also give a great performance.
You have to see the movie. I think he's 1 and 2. They're almost tied, honestly.
Well, yeah, I don't have Leo in here, but my 2 is Coleman Domingo for Rustin. Seems like a Beatty kind of performance. He's definitely going to be the centerpiece of the movie. An actor overdue for a nomination. He's an amazing actor. We see him on Euphoria, other places on TV, Zola. He's really overdue, and I think he's going to absolutely kill this performance. And George C. Wolfe got multiple performances in a few years ago. Number 3, Adam Driver for White Noise. It's Adam Driver plus Noah Baumbach. Great performance. If the movie fits the Academy's tone, that is, which I think it will. 4, Brendan Fraser for The Whale. This is a little bold, but I do think we're going to have a bit of a Fraser-sance here. He's going to be in a lot of movies this upcoming year.
I wanted to put him on there, but
it's such a Beatty performance
just really threw me.
Like, I don't think this is going to be as hot as Mother.
Yeah, but Aronofsky hit with Black Swan because you had one of the best performances with Natalie Portman, and it was a very visceral performance. Like the thing that these are the 2 things that are keeping me from The Whale. It's a play adaptation, which means it could be very limited cinematically in terms of the scope, and then the other one, very different because that was all about perspective. So being in one location, it kept changing Like the
Yeah.
father is the I don't think the father is what we judge every play adaptation on. The father
No.
was a groundbreaking, once very singular film, which is why it did so well. And then the other thing too is like what Black Swan had was it was about the art industry. It was about theater. Like that's I think helped it. But
This
he's
has the
very
gaining
like
weight aspect. I mean, he's going to be
I
fluctuating. I believe
know.
he has a binge eating disorder, I believe, and he just like spends his whole life on the couch eating. Based on the play, it seems like a very emotional role. And I do think it's like Brendan Fraser. He's finally making a comeback, and people I think it's going to also be a great performance. Aronofsky knows how to get great performances out of these actors, so I think he's got a shot. But that is also
I think
A24, so
he's fighting Fassbender. I think both of them are going for the eccentric spot. But the thing with Brendan Fraser, and I'm just checking to make sure of this, yeah, he's never been nominated for an Oscar. Like he's
for the
never been
first
talked
time.
about like that. I don't think he has a Renee Zellweger trajectory because he's never been in the club. This would have to be so good a performance that it gets him in the club. And I don't know if Aronofsky does because again, I respect Brendan Fraser and I really have enjoyed a lot of Aronofsky's work. Black Swan is just tremendous, and I actually liked Mother. But I think there's too many things
There
telling
are
me
a lot
no.
going
When I feel
against
like
him. Yeah,
DiCaprio, Jackman, and Domingo are, I think, I honestly would call them locks. I think all three of those guys are in.
they've got a good shot.
And then Fassbender and Calva, I just feel like they are performances that I think are going to stand out more, but who will stand out more than Brendan Fraser? I don't know. It's a very difficult thing, but A24 too,
That's
like
my main thing that's holding me back.
because like, do you see the whale getting in anywhere else except maybe makeup? Like that's my
Makeup,
like
it could win
I
makeup.
don't
That combo, it is
maybe
a
it
good
does the
combo.
Tanning Faye. But
It's that
again,
versus
Jessica
Batman.
Chastain had been nominated before. It helped to get awareness on the movie. I don't know if Brendan Fraser has that awareness. So we'll see.
No,
We'll
he
see.
doesn't. I'm just putting in an early bet on it. I don't have a ton of faith in it happening, but I'm rooting for it. And then my five,
The biggest
I
wild
think
card of the season.
definitely a big wild card. And my five, who I think is going to be campaigned and lead for Killers of the Flower Moon, I have Jesse Plemons for Killers of the Flower Moon. He's playing the protagonist. He's like the hero. He's the FBI agent doing the investigating. Leonardo DiCaprio he has equal screen time apparently as Jesse Plemons, but he is the villain. And I don't think they're going to run two people in lead because we saw what happened with Ford versus Ferrari there. So I do think Leo is going to be campaigned and supporting, in my opinion.
I have the opposite. I think DiCaprio goes lead because he's DiCaprio, and Plemons will go supporting, which we can just get into that. I have Robert De Niro in my number one spot. Similar mentality
Yeah.
of Scorsese, which I think this is like the last. I think this will be, I think one of, if not the last times to give Robert De Niro an Oscar. And I think that if he's very good and he seems to be a very, a devil like type of performance, like a very twisting devil, it could really pay off for him. I think his biggest competition would be maybe like Brad Pitt in Babylon, and he just won.
He just won.
So my other contenders are Zen McGrath for The Sun. I think just the entire Sun cast is getting nominated. Jesse Plemons, because I think he obviously with the Power of the Dog nomination, there's a lot of love for him, but I don't know if up against these titans, if he will get through. We have to see the movie. We have to see the role. It depends. Because I think DiCaprio and De Niro could be more showy performances, like Power of the Dog. Like Plemons, I think he services the movie so well, but he's not given like the big Oscar Beatty speech. And then number five, because I think there's a lot of talk about this man, I'm going to put Chris Rock for Rustin. I think that if the movie hits, I think he could. Also, because I just don't know who else I would put in at this point. Like I could put there's like Colin Firth or like Viggo Mortensen. There's a lot of people that could get that, but they're all like the same performance. So and we haven't seen it. Where Chris Rock, what's Paul Dano in?
He plays Steve Spielberg's dad in The Fabelmans. He's my number one. I think he's my biggest shot at putting.
Wait, then who's Seth Rogen?
Seth Rogen is his uncle.
Who's Seth Rogen?
His uncle.
Ah, uh, why is Seth Rogen in that movie? Sorry, side note.
He was good
I don't know.
in Jobs, Steve Jobs.
Yeah, he was. You're right. I know, but I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of him. But anyway, point being, I just think Chris Rock, if he really shows up in the performance, I think this will be a really like, oh wow, Chris Rock can act type of role. And I also think like I'm looking at my list, and it does seem very white, and so I'm looking for more, trying to be more racially inclusive because I don't want Oscar so white again. And I think this, if he hits, I think this could be a nice performance. And I also think the same way that Roma doesn't win because there's an issue with Netflix, and the way that Green Book won because it was a way to silence the bull, like you think we're racist, Green Book for Best Picture, Bohemian Rhapsody. I think there's some people who will use the nomination as a way to draw out this discourse even longer, and he could benefit
I don't
from
think
it.
it'll be that big of a deal come the time, and I don't think he's going to give a good enough performance to get in there. I don't think the racial aspect plays a big part because, I mean, supporting actor was all white just this past year. I don't think there's going to be a huge...
Granted, I know. I think it's just me looking at all of the nominees, and I'm just like, well, there's my best director lineup so far is all white. Best actress is... Yeah, I know. Granted,
we can hope for this
stuff,
but the track record is not always the best. I think we've got Domingo, we've got Aki, a few others probably.
Well, I don't have Aki, so maybe this is where I put somebody of color. But I'm just also saying, how many people brought up the Moonlight La La Land thing the following year, and they made jokes about it. So I don't think the biggest thing
it didn't influence voting.
Yeah, but it wasn't the type of thing that would influence. I'm just saying it's very rare that Chris Rock doesn't do this a lot, and it's so interesting that he's doing it the year after. Especially if the Will Smith movie comes out where he's playing that runaway slave.
Yeah.
Like it could be like, we're not going to give it to you, but we're going to nominate. I'm just saying, I'm looking for trends, and I feel like a lot of times you see these very like obvious political narrative trends and like statements made with the nominations, and so I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it's Chris Rock.
Yeah, I think it could definitely happen. He'd be in like my top 15 probably. But like I said, Paul Dano is my number one. He also has the Riddler performance of this past year to help him. Steven Spielberg and his father have a complicated relationship, so I do think it will definitely be an interesting performance. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep him as my number one, but we'll see. I'm not completely confident about that. Number two, I have Leonardo DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon. Like everything you said, I'm sure he'll give a great villainous performance. He didn't get in for Django, but I think he'll get in for this. Speaking of Killers of the Flower Moon, I do think...
Who didn't get in for Django?
Leo.
Oh, because you have him supported. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, Robert De Niro wasn't in.
He was in Jane.
Django and Jane?
Yeah. Robert De Niro is my number three. As we've seen, I believe, for the past 4 or so years, there's in supporting actor or actress at least been a double nominee for one movie. I think we'll get that for Killers of the Flower Moon this year. We got it for Power of the Dog, surprisingly, last year. It's usually an actor. It only happened once an actress, supporting actor, that is. So yeah, I think De Niro would be my number three. Number four, I think I'm going to go Anthony Hopkins. I'm trying to decide between The Sun or Armageddon Time, which he's in both this past year. I think The Sun will be a bigger contender. I just don't know how big his role is in that, so it's a bit of a risk here. But as we saw when he got this, he walked on the stage and he got a huge standing ovation last year. So I do think there is a lot of love for him.
He'll present Best Actress, so don't worry about it. He'll get on that stage again.
Yeah, true. Yeah, just for a second time. And then I just don't think Brad Pitt is going to get in there. So I'm going to go with what's his name, Ben Whishaw for Women Talking.
Interesting.
I think based on the book, people say he has a great potential for a great performance there. But I think Brad Pitt
I thought Seth Rogen was playing the father in The Fabelmans. So now that I know it's Paul Dano, I'm going to take back what I said. I'm going to take Chris Rock off, and I'm going to put Paul Dano in. Because if it's Paul Dano, then yeah, no, it's a very heartfelt.
He's overdue for a nom too.
Overdue. It's a Kirsten Dunst narrative. I don't think he'll win, but I don't put him in my number two
either. But I don't know who's gonna win then if he if he doesn't,
I
it's
think it's De
interesting.
Niro.
I would maybe say De
I
Niro.
think
I'd maybe agree with you on that, actually.
how it's De Niro's won two or one.
I
Did he
think
win
two.
for Raging Bull?
He did win for Raging Bull, yeah.
And
And he
he
won
won
for
for The
Taxi
Godfather
Driver?
Part Two.
Oh, yeah, Godfather.
Yeah. So this would be his third. It would put him in the Daniel Day-Lewis class.
Yeah, I don't know.
This
That makes
honestly
me a
could be
little.
just a farewell to all of you. Farewell to Scorsese. Farewell to Spielberg.
Yeah,
Farewell
there
to
was
De
that same
Niro.
sentiment with The Irishman, too, with Pesci and Pacino, and that didn't work out. And
But
also
I think
Brad
that's
Pitt's
The
gonna.
Aviator. I think that's the, oh, is this the one that we have to do it for? And then they don't do it. And then this one comes along and like, oh, thank God. Like now we can
Yeah,
give it to you. I
yeah.
think.
He did get
But
snubbed
yeah,
for The Irishman, but yeah. And that's pretty much it for supporting actor. I don't have a ton of other people who I would mention currently. I mean, maybe Willem Dafoe for Poor Things, but I doubt it. Maybe someone from the Banshees of Inisherin or someone from 13 Lives, but right now that's all I got.
Mhm. So, best
Supporting
supporting
actress.
actress.
Indeed.
This is where I think finally Michelle Williams will win for The Fablemans. It's guaranteed to be a moving, heartwarming performance. Then I have Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon. Could be a very politically cognizant performance in terms of like Sasheen Littlefeather and the history of Native American representation.
She would be the first one nominated, correct? The first Native American person to be nominated.
Possibly. I don't know
I
that
believe
stat.
so.
I learn all these stats in September, so you're
Yeah,
asking me in April.
fair,
Like,
fair.
give me the summer to learn these
Yeah.
stats. But yeah, but I still think that the performance will probably be very motivated and very poignant. Vanessa Kirby then for The Sun, she got in for Pieces of a Woman, so I think that proves that even on a smaller movie that she's well respected within the acting branch. Then I put Rooney Mara, same thing I said about Vanessa Kirby for Women Talking. And then I was really searching for this fifth nominee. I considered Whoopi Goldberg for Till because, of course, she is an Oscar winner, but I settled on Anne Hathaway for Armageddon Time. I feel like there's a lot of good. I feel like she's kind of like everybody hated her, which I think was very unfair. You know, it's not her fault that James Franco was high the night that they hosted.
Not her fault.
And so I feel like she's done a lot of good work. She's on We Crashed, and I feel like there's a nice sentiment. I think this kind of reeks of a Renee Zellweger type of like we really liked you. You were the it girl, and then we kind of forced you out of Hollywood, and we stopped really. We started trashing you, and now you come back, and if the movie's good, and it's the thing that could hurt it is it's a very similar performance to Michelle Williams potentially. So we'll see. But as right now, I'm just going to go with the Oscar winner. It's like if I'm deciding who to put in, I'm going to put in somebody who's already won an Oscar because that's probably a better bet than other things.
Yeah. I have a similar list. I also have Michelle Williams at number 1 here, which is also tempting me to switch Paul Dano because I don't think it'll win both supporting categories, The Fablemans. She's playing the mother character. Steven Spielberg loves his mom. She's also well known within the industry. I believe she owned like a pancake shop or something that was often visited by people within the industry. So yeah, I think, and she's also overdue. So I think she's got a shot. Then I've got Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, everything you mentioned. I think she's going to be a big centerpiece and heart of that movie, probably the main heart of that movie, I would guess. Everyone else seems kind of like they could be a little cold. Number 3, I have Jean Smart for Babylon. As we've seen come the Emmys, she has this big overdue narrative. Well, not at the Emmys, overdue narrative. She's finally reaching a renaissance within her career. She's beloved. With Hacks, I think we saw very much so the love that the industry has for her. And based on the script, which Babylon does have a script out there if anyone wants to read it. If she plays it right, this seems like the kind of big supporting performance that they would love. And I don't even know if she's been nominated at the Oscars, but I think
I would doubt it, and that's my only worry is that if they look at her as a TV actor, but that didn't stop Allison Janney from winning Prime Time.
Yeah, I think because she'll also be in contention this upcoming Emmy season for Hacks. I think that really.
She's not going to be in contention. She's going to win. Her and Jason Sudeikis are going to win every year until the sun dies out, just like Julia Dreyfus.
That's what
One
makes the
every.
Emmys a little less interesting for me when it's just like, oh, they're winning again. Like if people just won Oscars year after year.
Yeah,
Um,
no Oscar nomination for Jean Smart.
yeah,
It
I
would be
originally had her potentially winning, but because of that, I think she'll get her first nomination here just because she has a huge spotlight on her right now and she's in a renaissance of her career. I think it is her chance and her time to do it. Number 4, I have, where did it go? Number 4, I have Laura Dern for The Son. I believe, I would think Vanessa Kirby would be lead actress is what I would guess. I believe Laura Dern would have the more supporting performance.
however they put them. I think they're both getting in. I would just again, I think you put the Oscar winner and the more established name in lead. Then you
I just
put
think
Dern.
the screen time is going to make a big difference because Vanessa Kirby is his actual wife and Laura Dern is his ex-wife coming back into the picture. So I do think that will be the more supporting performance. And I do think that will also have a lot of more emotions than Vanessa Kirby's character would.
Ever since Judas and the Black Messiah, it doesn't matter where they put these people.
True. Very true.
But the Oscars will do what they want to do, and it just seems again. I feel like it's like Kate Blanchett and Rooney Mara in Carol. Rooney Mara was the lead of the movie, but she was put in supporting, and the Oscar winner Kate Blanchett was put in lead. I'd see the same thing happening here.
True. And then my last spot, I'm tempted between multiple women talking people, either Jessie Buckley or Frances McDormand, and Zoe Kazan for She Said. Those are all the ones I'm thinking about right here. I think I'm going to go with a women talking person, and I'm going to say Jessie Buckley gets another nomination for women talking in supporting actress.
So I put her in lead. So we agree that she'll get in.
Yeah, I think based on the book, either Claire Foy or Rooney Mara is technically lead. But
awesome. Again, that's the part of this that we don't know.
We don't know.
Again, as we saw, people will campaign in different ways. I mean, like I think post favorite, anything can happen in terms of placement.
Definitely.
So
So those are the top 6 categories, everyone. We'll have plenty more. As Cannes happens very soon, and then plenty of other stuff throughout the summer. We will keep you updated on all the Oscar stuff coming around and occurring. And we'll also have lots of Emmy talk over the summer because that's big awards happening over the summer. So yeah, those are extremely early predictions. I think we will have gotten them all correct. Imagine going 5 for 5 in one of these. I would brag about that very, very intensely.
I feel pretty good given, listen, we did very well. If you're a first-time viewer, we both, I think, got 21 out of 23 on our Oscar ballot last year.
Very predictable year, though.
I
think lots of people got 21 out of 23.
3 weeks ago. That's
forever.
We're pretty good. I think what's interesting is that we have so many big name talent, and so we're just gonna have to see which ones get in. But yes, Scorsese versus Spielberg, it's gonna be quite a season.
Yes, Team Spielberg. I haven't seen them, but Team Spielberg. Scorsese won more recently too, so yeah. Yes.
Well, I guess 2006. I don't want to call it that more recently, but I
more
guess
recent than Spielberg. Yeah. We will see.
True.
So, we will see.
Where can they find you, Jack?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at OscarFilmFC, debating over how I will endure the 2024 Oscar season, where it's Denis Villeneuve versus Christopher Nolan.
Oh Lord! Hey, we're already ahead by a year. Let's not.
We're 2 years.
Let's not jump 2 years.
Yeah, I'm just preparing for battle.
Yes, and you can find me on Twitter at Anthony_Post, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and also on YouTube. Spoilers ahead with Anthony Post. Come check out the channel. I'm going to be doing a Wizarding World ranked video, which basically constitutes ranking the 3 Fantastic Beasts and then ranking the 8 Harry Potter.
Yeah, I've seen one of them.
So,
actually, no, I've seen the 2 Fantastic Beasts movies and 1 Harry Potter movie. So yeah.
Oh, which one have you seen of the Harry Potter?
First one.
First one?
Yeah. Well, my sister watches the movies too, and I've seen like pieces of all of them, but I've never sat down and watched one fully except for the first one. So I know everything that happens, which holds me back.
You should change that today.
I should,
because they're very good. Also, yes. I'm gonna put down a hope that I hope Lady Gaga hosts the 2023 Oscars. I think
she's gonna have a song for Top Gun.
Great. Oh, she is.
Yeah, a song for Top Gun, and apparently she's also getting a score credit. So apparently she helped with the score of the movie, which is crazy.
Interesting.
Her and Hans Zimmer.
May 27th, man. Stranger Things 4, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Top Gun. That's a
Insane.
massive day.
Star Wars
So we'll see.
Celebration.
Anyway, thank you all. Thank you all for
Like,
joining
comment,
us.
subscribe, all that stuff, and we will see you very soon.